What's up, YouTube? Yesterday was one of the greatest days in PoE history as another passive tree was revealed. I have never felt such great joy in seeing the passive tree and not knowing what points to take. Now, if I was a beginner, I would be completely confused. I would have nowhere to go but YouTube or some sort of guide about what to click points on. So I turned to YouTube and I saw that these two things were up on my feed, and wow, that's quite a big discrepancy in views. I guess that's why it's a check mark. But basically, everyone is trying to tell you what Atlas skill tree tier list to take. So I'm going to take a little bit of a different approach. I'm going to go over the best ones early game for me and the best ones end game for me. And I'm going to try to tell you how you can build your Atlas tree a little bit. But I'm also going to show you what my Atlas tree is, because I know that's what most people want here, is to just copy it verbatim and make life easier, right? But anyhow, let's get straight into it. Let's go see what we need in our Atlas tree and what are the best nodes and what's my endgame farming strategy. So as you can see here, there's two different trees, right? So say this is Cute Dog's tree and this is Zizarin's tree, right? Everyone's tree is a little bit different. Some are a little bit greener, some are a little bit bigger, some are a little bit smaller. So what's the most important on the Atlas passive tree? Most important thing is you need to find out what league mechanics you enjoy the most in PoE. Do you enjoy bossing? Do you enjoy alch-and-go mapping? Do you enjoy mid-investment mapping? Do you enjoy full investment endgame mapping and interacting with the trade system, buying 4 scarabs, and then going to find more chisels, more alchs? Or do you enjoy harvest and delve? So there's so many different things in PoE. It's really turned into a wide open endgame. I do think with the new Atlas passive tree, it's more wide open than ever, and it does allow you to customize your experience. And most importantly is you need to make different trees to accomplish different goals. So you can't expect one tree to grow apples and grapes. Wait, do grapes even grow on trees? I'm not too sure, but anyhow, you get the analogy, right? So the Atlas passive trees offers a lot of customization, but you do need regrets in unmaking. I do think that maybe GGG should have made the first season to be fully respectable and not have any regrets, because I do feel a lot of people are going to feel this pressure to have the perfect tree and not want to waste currency to respect their whole passive tree. But basically, main thing to take away from here is that you need to find out what league mechanics you enjoy. Now, I do think the early game Atlas tree should be pretty set in stone, because I do think the early game is a time where you want to build up your map pool. You want to get your void stones done as much as possible. You want to build up your map base to get the T16s. So I do think the goal, if you're doing endgame mapping, should be getting your void stones so you can use sextants, because sextants are really overpowered, especially now that you can store the sextants and match it up with the league mechanic that you want to do. So you can say you can get like 2 breaches or additional breach. You can match it up with a breach passive tree nodes, right? And also early game, you always want to be doing essence, harvest, harbingers, and shrines. They are extremely, extremely important for extra mobs. And you must take shaping the seas, valleys, mountains, and skies early on for map drops 1 tier higher. So this is like pretty much the previous Atlas bonus. So you can see here it says maps dropped in areas have 15% chance to be 1 tier higher. And then after taking all of the pathing to it, and they're over here, these nodes, I think, you will get around 100% chance to be 1 tier higher. So what this means is that this is pretty much equivalent to having like a 100 map bonus objective. And as everyone knows, your Atlas bonus is pretty much correlated to how fast you'll progress through the tiers. So I do think if you take all of these nodes, your Atlas progression will be super, super fast. You'll find a lot of higher tier maps and be able to move up in the system a lot faster. And also, 3 extra rare monsters is OP early game. There are these nodes near the start over here that give you 3 extra rare monsters. On average, a map, you'll probably have like 10 rare monsters or 12 depending on the layout. So getting 30% extra rare monsters on top in the early game is huge for map drops, especially since rares have a chance to drop +1 on the maps. Also, your chance to get Karak missions is super important in Atlas progression. As everyone knows before, when you did a Zana mission, your Zana sold different maps every time you did it. It also helps you finish out your bonus, and also Karak missions are also heavily buffed in that they also have a specific league mechanic attached to it. So this is a perfect way to both get currency and to build up your map pool. And it's fun to do Karak missions now that they're on your map device, right, instead of actually in the game. So make sure to get as much Karak missions as possible. So now we want to be looking at the Atlas skill tree that I will be personally running early game. So let's see here. Where is my Atlas skill tree? So there's a lot of different skill trees that I have, and it seems like there's a billion of them. I'm just constantly pulling it up. So here you can see this is my early game skill tree. So I'm going to go over it really fast and what I actually prioritize, and this will all be in a Google Doc for you to find with this one and this one, my early game and end game passive tree. So early game, you want to come out, you want to get the essences. Essences are a great benefit in crafting gear. Dread essences will also be pretty expensive because of people trying to craft plus level of bows. I do go for an extra strong box, and I do think strong box additional monsters always better for map drops. And here you want to take these 3 rare monsters. So this is rare monster area is duplicated. So these nodes are very good. I did take this node because of the chaos recipe. I'll probably be doing a little bit at the start, and this does give some currency or basic jewelry item. By the way, this one node is probably 0.01% of Nemesis currency. Do not get baited by this node. But these are the 4 shaping nodes that you want to take in order to have a 100% chance for your map to drop 1 tier higher. So there's 2 here, and then there are 2 more over here. So with these 4, you'll have 100% bonus. Now you want to go through the middle here because this gives you a chance to get a correct mission on completion. So this allows you to pretty much get more Zana missions. This thing also gives you extra 3%. So I do go over here to get some more chances to get essences. I do believe that they are a very good early game currency option. I do go down here to get the extra Harbinger. I also go over here to get a chance to get Harvest, because Harvest is always pretty good to craft gear. And if you know what you're doing with Harvest, it's probably one of the best early game money makers, especially if you're crafting cluster jewels. So here I do take Tamper Proof as it makes the strong box corrupted, and it also gives you a chance to get 6 links. Over here, more Harvest essence stuff. This gives you some Shrieking essences, which could be worth a good amount. Especially if we're playing the claw build, having essences to craft your claw is a pretty big money maker. In the early game, last league, I did pick up a lot of Imperial Claw bases. I used some essences on it, and I sold a lot of claws for 1 exalt. And that's a huge benefit for currency. I do like these Harbinger nodes over here. It gives you more monsters, and then it also recovers faster, which is one of the worst parts about Harbinger and how slow it was. And this node over here gets you a Shrine. And here we go to get more essences, so a tier higher on essences, more Harvest chance, and then a chance for Harbinger to replace by a Harbinger boss for even more currency and currency shards. So I do think in the early game, this should be pretty set in stone. I do think that this is the best option. This gives you a lot of early game power for crafting your gear, selling essences for guaranteed money, or finding Harbingers for guaranteed chaos drops. Also gives you the chance to give you your Atlas to be higher tier. Also gives the most mobs, and the more mobs, the more map drops you'll be getting. Overall, this is a tree that I think is very, very strong for anyone trying to min-max their early game. But now let's move to the mid-game. So the mid-game is kind of an interesting time. It's a time where you're kind of finished building your map pool. You're not fully invested into an end-game farming strategy. So what I like to do here is I like to choose a league mechanic that I enjoy doing and try to focus on getting all of the relevant nodes to it. So for instance, if you have Harbinger, you can put Harbinger on every single map for 4C, and you take all of the Harbinger nodes. So you can see here, this is pretty much already the early game because I did take every single Harbinger node. Now, if you like the constant money of essences, then you can take all of the essence nodes on the tree. So you can probably combine a few of these mechanics together. Like you can combine Harbinger, Essence, Harvest, and Ambush. And you can also try Fortune Favors the Brave on every map and choose the corresponding mechanics. So you can see here, you have Abyss, Domination, Bloodlines, Ambush, Harbinger, Beyond, Ritual. So I do think a very viable mid-game strat is to take all of the Strongbox stuff. You can take the Abyss stuff to get 5 or 6 random modifiers on the Abyss Jewel. You can take this node for more Abyss monsters. So you can pretty much just spam Fortune Favors the Brave. And with Fortune Favors the Brave, with Shaping the Valleys, you have 10% quant, you have 10% pack size. And that's actually huge, along with 10% rarity, right? So that is a super good mid-game currency method, I think, which is just spam Fortune Favors the Brave and see what you get. Oh yeah, you should also take some Ritual because you will get some Ritual with Fortune Favors the Brave every once in a while. So you can take some Ritual nodes. So you can see here, the Ritual nodes are kind of far out of the way, but you can take the ones that guarantee you the 4 altars. So here's areas will always have 4 altars, and over here, you can get re-rolling favors 2 additional times, which is super strong. And over here, it actually drops a blood-filled vessel once you complete it. So that's actually one of the better mid-game currency options I could come up with. And it's pretty fun for most people. You just toss down Fortune Favors the Brave, 3 Chaos. You can't really lose money. And you choose all the mechanics on the map that are corresponding to these things on the map device. But now you probably want to move to the end game. You want to do some bossing perhaps. And these are the money methods I will be doing. So I do think in the end game, there's 2 different type of currency methods that you can mainly do. And it is bossing and full investment endgame mapping. If you choose bossing, you want to take all of the corresponding boss nodes for Searing Exarch, Eater of Worlds, Maven, or Cyrus. And there are a lot of goodies here that you can potentially get. So you can see here for Searing Exarch, this over here. So this one makes it so that you have 10% additional progress. So this is pretty much like taking the Uncharted Realm stuff with Cyrus and trying to do Cyrus as fast as possible. And then most importantly, when you kill Searing Exarch, you can see a 25% increased chance to drop Forbidden Flame, which is like the Watcher's Eye, 10% additional chance to drop an additional Grand Eldritch Ember, like an exceptional Eldritch Ember, right? So if you're killing these bosses, you need to make sure you have these nodes. If you're doing Maven, you need to make sure that you have this thing to progress Maven faster. You have this thing to give you more splinters to get more Mavens. You have this thing to get more Orb of Conflicts and a more chance to get Awakened Support Gem. And same thing for like Eater of Worlds, right? And then you can also make sure if you're going to be doing all of these maps to progress it and to get the influence stuff, you want to take these nodes that gives you more influence monster pack size. And you want to take the Ward of Exarch stuff that gives you more Eldritch currency items and even more Eldritch currency. And over here, since if you do bossing endgame, you will probably be doing a lot of maps back to back to try to progress the progression track to spawn it more and more. So you'll probably want to be taking these nodes at the top that gives you Guardian Zaid. So this gives you more chance to get Elder and Shaper Guardian maps. So here, so all of these maps combined together, every 100 maps you'll get 2 plus 4 plus 2, so you'll get 6 Conqueror maps back. And if you're trying to do Cyrus maps, make sure to take these Cyrus nodes up top. So basically, when you do the end game bossing, you want to choose a boss or choose 2 bosses you want to do. You want to take all of the corresponding boss nodes. And how you choose a boss, you probably want to choose a boss you either enjoy the most or has the highest profit margin. And the highest profit margin will pretty much come down to what the demand of the boss items are and what other people are doing. So if everyone is farming Maven, then the Maven drops will probably be worth a lot less, right? Because how many times the boss gets killed is pretty much how many people choose to progress that certain influence track under Atlas. Now, full investment endgame mapping requires getting all 4 Void Stones and choosing 4 League mechanics to fully invest in. The reason we want to choose 4 League mechanics is because we can have 4 Scarab slots. So these 4 Scarab slots will pretty much guarantee that these 4 League mechanics will always be on the map. And the 4 Void Stones are necessary because we need the Void Stones to put the Sextants on to make the maps more juicy. As you may know, PoE is all about exponential scaling, both in terms of your damage and in terms of endgame. So the more monsters you have, the more quant you have, it will scale off of each other, and you will be able to get more Simulacrum Splinters, you'll be able to get more Cluster Jewels, and you'll be able to get more currency drops. So the Void Stones are for Maven, Uber Elder, Searing Exarch, and Eater of Worlds. So next up, we have the endgame mapping method that I will be using, and I'm going to go over my method behind it and why I like it. Okay, so now we're going to get to the juice of it, which is full investment endgame mapping. What method am I choosing and what tree will I be using? So one thing that's really important is you want to make sure to get all of the quantity nodes in the middle. If you take this full circle and the 3 nodes in the middle, you get 15% increased quant. And as everyone knows, 15% increased quant is huge. Ask any Magic Finder, and they will all agree that 15% quant is massive. Now, you also want to make sure to get all of the passive nodes on the top of the Atlas that grants increased effect of non-modifiers. If you take all 15 of these, you will get 30% increased effect of non-modifiers, which is pretty much like having the full Awakening bonus on the previous Atlas or having 1 Misinformation Stone. Now you want to favorite your favorite map layout, and this map layout should be a good layout. It should be wide open for your Legion if you're choosing Legion, and it needs to have a good div card. So This is pretty much meaning that everyone's going to choose Burial Chambers. Burial Chambers is an amazing map. It is great for Legion. It has a lot of mob counts. It has a pretty easy boss. And this is pretty much a wet dream or a great dream for most people. So Burial Chambers is the best, right? Now you also want to make sure you buy Scarabs for the 4 league mechanics you choose. Now mine will be the Legion, Blight, Harbinger, and Abyss, because these ones I do believe give the most mobs. And I will be doing a Deli Orb strategy where I put a Deli Orb on a map and try to get as much Simulacrum Splinters and as much rewards as possible. So I'm going with Legion, Blight, Harbinger, and Abyss. But this is different for everyone, right? So let's go take a look at my Atlas passive tree real fast so you can see the methodology behind it. So, yeah. So you can see here, I dropped the shaping stuff because I don't really know how much map drops I will need. And I think I should be sustaining at that point with my Atlas, but we'll see. So here I took the Abyss nodes right here to get 30% increased monsters. I took this node right here to get 100% increased monsters. And then I'm still trying to get more Harbingers, so I did take this that gives you more Harbingers and this one extra Harbinger. Now, here I took Emblematic because I'm going to be putting a Legion on every map with the Scarabs. So you can see here +1 Templar, +1 Mariketh, because those are the rarest ones and the ones that are worth the most. So then I go around over here. I take every single node on the top, and I do get this +1 Sextant use thing. And I try to take as much of the quant as possible, but not really sure how good that is. I mean, no, wait. I am really sure that this is good. I just meant like these nodes over here. I was trying to see if there's a better way of pathing, because I'm not really sure I need it. If no, you still need those nodes right there. But basically, you can see here, I'm trying to do Deli, and I'm putting the Deli Orb on every single map. So I'm doing Delusions of Persecution that gives you guaranteed bosses pretty much if you put 2 Deli Orbs on, or 3. And then this one allows you to get more Simulacrums, and this allows you to generate an extra reward layer. And now as I'm going over to left, because I'm trying to get mobs, as many mobs as possible on the map to generate more reward layers, I am doing Beyond. So I'm going to be putting Beyond on the map device on every single map. And here it gives you additional Beyond chance. And Blight, I do believe, is very overpowered. So that's why for Blight, I am going over here and taking 80% chance to contain blighted maps. And this node over here gives you additional Blight encounter chance. And right now in juiced maps, you can have more than 1 Blight encounter. So you're going to be guaranteed 1 Blight on the map. And then these nodes will give you another chance to have another Blight. So you can potentially have 2 or 3 Blights in a map. Now, as we go down here, we take this node here because it gives us 150% Blight monsters spawning faster. And it gives you 100% more monsters on Blight. And if you've ever done Delirium before, you do know that Blight is completely broken in terms of how many reward layers it will generate, especially if you've done Delimir before. So here is a Strong Box. It's just pretty good. 1 Strong Box, and then here 1 Shrine, right? And then 3 rare monsters. So overall, this is my endgame farming tree. You can also probably drop maybe a Strong Box node to get this node over here, which is Seance. And Seance gives you 5 rare monsters possessed. And these possessed monsters will have increased quant, which should be very, very strong. So I'll probably end up dropping maybe Twice Tempted for that. But as you can see, the Atlas passive tree is very, very wide open. You can choose so many different ways to play the game. And this is just my endgame farming method. And I do think that this will probably be the best currency per hour if you can rush this super early on. And yeah. But basically, for full investment endgame mapping, you need to choose 4 league mechanics. You need to get the Beyond nodes if you're going to put Beyond on the map device. And you need to just have good synergy. And you need to fully invest in your map with Sextants too. So that's just the way I'm doing it. I will be linking these trees in the Google Doc just in case you're wondering. So this is my early game Atlas progression tree and my end game Deli Orb farming tree. And I will probably make a video about how you can farm with Deli Orbs too. But now let's get into what I think of the tree overall. So big conclusion, everyone's perfect tree will be very different. There is no real best tree. Except for the early game, I do think the early game is pretty set in stone in what you want to get. You want to get the Karak missions. You want to get the chance to get a higher level on the map. Endgame has a lot of options, and most important thing is synergy. As you may know, everything in the game scales off of one another. If you have more quant and you have more monsters, you will get more loot, right? It's pretty simple. And the more synergy you have with your league mechanics and your quant, you will get way more drops. You'll get more Legion splinters and stuff like that. You'll get more Simulacrum splinters and yada yada. The full investment into your maps and Atlas passive tree will result in the most currency. So the most important thing though is you want to have super duper fun while doing it. And this is pretty much everyone here. You guys are all trying to have a piece of the puzzle, but you need to find a way to piece together the puzzle. You want to find a way to make your own Atlas tree work out. These people probably aren't making the best Atlas tree as they're holding the puzzle pieces in some weird ways that don't really fit together. And that's probably the majority of people on Reddit and watching this video. But with this video, you'll be able to make your own puzzle. You'll be able to fix your own tree. Or you can just copy the tree I'm using and use my endgame currency method. But maybe not, because then Deli Orbs will be expensive. But thanks for watching, everyone. Be sure to like and subscribe. I hope you find more mirrors, exalts, mage bloods than me. And see you next time. Bye.